Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the mock interview series with UiPath Aspirant. For the people who are looking this series for the first time, in this series I am taking mock interview for candidate based on their resume, their experience and their skill set. Please note that this is just a mock interview. It is not for any client, any customer or any of the job opportunities. The format of the mock interview is absolutely simple. The candidate send me the resume. I set up some time. I take the mock interview and all the confidential details such as the name, the company name, the project information, everything remains confidential with me. Even the name which you see in the mock interview is changed. So you do not have to worry about any of the details. Once I receive the interview, I hide the details, we take the interview. At the end, I guide the candidate that what are the topics he needs to improve upon, and I also provide the feedback on the interview so that they can perform well in their live interview. In terms of cost, the cost of the mock interview is absolutely free for you. You don't have to pay me anything. You just have to send me your resume and we can set up a common time and I conduct a mock interview for you. In case your experience match this mock interview, you can go ahead and watch. But in case you are coming from a different experience, you can go back to the playlist. There we have a couple of mock interviews which are already taken. You can watch them, get some insight, and hopefully that should be helpful in your next interview. If you want to appear for such a mock interview, all you have to do is just drop me an email on the email ID which is available in the description. Having said that, let's get started with today's mock interview. Hey, hi Vardhan. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can, Mukesh.
So Vardhan, I have got your resume for the mock interview. The format of the mock interview is simple. I'm going to ask you a question based on your resume, and at the end of the interview, I am going to tell you the overall feedback, the answers to the questions which you have answered me wrong, and what are the topics which you need to focus upon. Okay,
Yeah, sure, Mukesh.
cool. So let's get started by having a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, okay, Mukesh. So first of all, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to introduce myself. So my name is Vardhan. So I have been in IT for the last 6 years. So out of 6 years, I have 5 years of experience in RPA technology. So I'm currently working as a senior software engineer at limited company. And before that, I am working as a RPA developer in of technologies. And so in my ex company, I have a lot of exposure to traveling to different countries. So I'm just really glad for that. So I went to Kenya, South Africa for training the people and do some POCs. But yeah, that is a great opportunity for me after learning and working on this UiPath.
That's
And that is my working experience. And coming to my educational background, so done my bachelor's in the field of electronics and communications, and so that is also one other good exposure for out of country experience for me.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Okay, so in your 5 years of
Yes.
experience, you have only
Mhm.
worked with UiPath or it's a variety of tools?
Yeah, mostly UiPath, but
Hmm,
I have a learning experience with a Blue Prism.
hmm.
I did some POCs, but we didn't get an opportunity in my any either TBL or a CGS. So actually, they are stick to UiPath.
Okay,
So even though I did a POCs, yeah, because they just want to be done all the process in UiPath.
so if I understand it correctly, your majority of experience is in UiPath,
Yeah,
right?
correct, correct.
And in terms of project, how many projects have you completed? When I say
Yeah,
completed, end-to-end deployed.
sure. So it's around 20 projects, kind
Hmm.
of 20 process. It's been deployed
Okay.
means in both companies
Now, Vardhan, out of this 20 project, I want you to talk about a recent one or any one which you are comfortable talking about. Okay. Walk me
yeah,
through the
sure.
problem statement. What was the problem you were trying to resolve? How did you date it, and then I'll ask the next set of questions. Any one
Yeah,
project.
sure, definitely. So currently in CGS, I'm working where there is a project called defect management. So the problem here is for the process means the problem they come across, the business come across is we have a different set of groups like testers and business team. So actually we have a SharePoint. So the testers will come inside, input the data like project ID, work ID, all these details they are going to input in the SharePoint website. So, and also they need to create a Jira ticket. So while they are doing a Jira ticket, so there are so many, like every day we have hundreds of tickets need to be created. And also there should be hundreds of entries in the SharePoint, right? So while entering the data to a SharePoint to create a defect, so they are making a mistakes. Might be they are inputting a wrong work ID, or maybe the description are getting incorrect, and the attachments are going to be like different, right? So it's like they found a solution. So instead of testers manually interacting to the Jira and creating the defects, so there is a solution with the UiPath we come across. So we have a UiPath robot so that they can help leveraging instead of creating the defects. So use this UiPath bots through API calls. So that is a problem statement. So we found the solution using this UiPath bots. So
Okay,
how the
so
you yeah.
I'll just like to stop you there. So if I understand it correctly, the manual problem was that the testers or the QA guys were inputting the details in the SharePoint, and
Mhm.
then they were creating the Jira ticket, right?
Correct,
Now we
correct.
have automated the process where the Jira tickets are automatically created.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, okay, got it. Got it. Please continue. Yeah.
Uh,
So, you're
yeah, and
talking about
also
the
it is a
solution.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it is a time-consuming process. So
Hmm.
per to create a ticket, at least they are taking 10 minutes, 5 to 10
Understood.
minutes.
Understood.
Yeah. So
So you're
now the
getting a time
solution
saving.
is, yeah, that,
Hmm.
and also time saving, and also they are going to look after a new a benefit value to the organization, other process they are doing now.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the solution, coming to the solution. So what actually the testers will do? So obviously they will enter all the data to the SharePoint,
Mm-hmm.
and now the robot is going to log into the SharePoint and it will extract the data into Excel format.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all the Excel formats, we have a different conditions. We
Hmm.
assume like we have a Jira ticket.
Hmm.
So if there is no Jira ticket in the SharePoint, whatever we
Hmm.
downloaded Excel
Hmm.
from that. So
Hmm.
if we don't have a Jira ticket, and we obviously take all the data and we put it in a queue, and we have a separate set of performers
Hmm.
available in the production. So whenever there is a new transaction, so they start processing that within a minute. So every transaction is taking less than 50 seconds. So it will create a Jira ticket using those queue data.
Understood. I understood your process. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And
So
now I have just couple of questions on this project only, right? When we talk about
yeah, sure.
the SharePoint, right?
Hmm.
Uh, are you connecting the SharePoint with UI automation, or are you getting the SharePoint data with the help of some APIs?
Now, with the help of UI automation
Hmm.
and Jira, we are getting through API. We are not using a UI there.
Okay, so we log into that SharePoint and we download the data, right? Now,
Correct.
when the robot is working, right, whose ID the robot is using to log into that SharePoint?
Yeah, in the in our organization, there is a separate robot ID server is created.
Mm-hmm.
So using those already, so every machine we have ID. So we have that access to the SharePoint to that particular ID. So we already in place all these requirements before.
Hmm.
So then we started our project. So for testing, we have a separate robot ID for
Hmm.
that SharePoint, and there is a different set of for clean and
Understood.
easy process. Yeah,
So you download the Excel and then you upload that content to the queue, I guess, right? Now,
correct. Yeah.
in the dispatcher, right, which activity are you using to upload that data to the queue, which is a data table, right? You have an Excel, so I believe it's a data table.
Yes, yes. It
So
is
which activity?
Excel.
Yeah.
We have a add to queue activity.
Mm-hmm.
So using that, whatever the required fields, like we have a
Hmm.
work ID,
Hmm.
label,
Hmm.
description, all these details, row ID, all these details are moving to. There is a separate arguments we are creating. So in the add queue data, we have an option called input property called collections. So in that collections, I'm going to add these all
Got
details.
it. Now, but you already have a data table with you, right? Why can't
Yeah.
I simply use the bulk add queue item?
Yeah, that is also possible. That is also, yeah, possible. But
Hmm?
the problem is we don't require all the data, right? I don't want to waste the memory in a queue item. So that's
Mhm.
what we think. Even the solution architects also suggested use
No,
this
but
like,
I can filter out the Excel, right? So you have the Excel with you, right? You know which is
yeah,
the
yeah.
data you want to put, right? So I just filter out the data, create a new data
Hmm.
table saying that out of those 10 records, I only want this 7, and then bulk upload
Hmm.
the 7. Okay, I have a different
Yeah,
question
that
here,
is
right?
also correct.
Which is
Okay.
faster, add queue or bulk queue? Which would be faster?
Yeah, sorry, bulk queue is a faster one.
Okay,
I
okay,
agree. Yeah.
right. So we
Add
could
queue
have,
is like should
hmm.
be. Uh-huh.
Okay, now a different question here. So bulk queue, as the name suggests, right, it is going to add everything at once. Add queue item, as you have
Correct.
correctly mentioned, one by one with the help of collections, right? Do you know any other
Correct.
difference between them?
Yeah, it's like bulk queue should not should not be in a for each row.
Hmm.
Like at a time, once the data table is
Yeah.
ready, we
Hmm.
directly use this add bulk queue items. And
Hmm.
if it is like add queue, it should be in a for each row.
Yeah.
So like each data table, we need to go for okay specific
Yeah.
column. This
Yeah.
is the column value,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
need
Hmm.
to.
Hmm.
That is the difference.
Okay. Uh, Coming to the next question, right? So you are adding the data one by one to the queue, and your queue is having all these Jira numbers. So I suspect the queue would be something like 1, 2, 3, 4 Jira numbers along with some additional details, right? Which you want to create for the Jira ticket. Okay.
Exactly.
Now, how is the dispatcher and the performer scheduled? At what
So
time of the day?
dispatcher is scheduled for every 2 hours
Every 2 hours. Okay.
within a business days.
Mm-hmm.
So and the performer is like we have scheduled like a queue based trigger. So whenever there is a new
Hmm.
item fetched, it will automatically trigger the performer.
Okay. Now, every 2 hours you are running the dispatcher, right? So let's say the first
Mhm.
dispatcher triggered was at 9 a.m. in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
Now the 9 a.m. in the morning, it has added 10 items to the queue. Okay.
Okay.
1 to 10. Jira ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have added to the queue.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
performer was supposed to execute, but you got some exception in performer, some system exception. API key is not working. Okay, your API
Mhm.
connection has broke. You're getting 400 bad request from the Jira, right? So your all these 10 items are still in the queue. Okay, they are not processed
Okay.
because your performer
Mhm.
has got some critical error. Now, after 2 hours, now it is 11 a.m. in the morning. Okay,
Mhm.
now when you rerun the robot, right? What would happen?
Mhm. Mhm.
Your robot is again going to go to the
So
SharePoint.
yeah, so actually it
Hmm,
will first it will run. Actually, it will go to the SharePoint. It will download the attachment, and it
hmm,
will not look because there is in place like in a queue we have already set up with a reference, unique reference.
hmm.
Okay, if the same row ID available, it will not add to the queue again.
Okay, okay. So you have
So
that
that
unique
is one.
reference. Hmm,
Yeah, unique reference enable. And also what happens, right? So whenever the process is completely done,
hmm,
so and again we are means like we are exporting the into Excel, right? So
hmm,
while exporting, we have a condition like while filtering the Excel data, we have a condition if there is a no Jira ID for that row ID. Let's say the row ID one,
hmm,
if we don't have a Jira ticket number placed,
hmm.
then it will be added to the queue. So, and also while adding to the queue, it will also add another checkpoint. Okay, this same row ID available in the queue or not.
Okay, okay, understood. So you have the
And
unique
also,
reference that prevents it
yeah,
from adding the duplicate. Okay.
yeah.
Now
And
I
also,
have
as
a
you,
yeah, yeah. Go
okay.
ahead, go ahead.
And also, you asked the question, right? So,
Hmm,
like, if it is failed, so we
hmm,
have a retrying. Let's say the
hmm,
Jira ticket is not created
hmm,
until it will retry one more time.
hmm.
It's like a consecutive 3 times. It is the same error is coming. So we have also notifications are going to be like to the business users.
Hmm.
This is happening with the
Hmm.
API issue. So, and also we have a separate team like looking for these robots, like a support team. So
Hmm.
they also monitoring. So if there is happening with the API, then until unless they resolve it, so the business is keep informed, and the business is going smoothly.
Okay, understood. Now I have a quick question here, right? So let's say we have added an items to the queue and the performer is processing it, right? So first
Mm-hmm.
time when you add the data to the queue, what is the state?
Your first state, it is added to the queue is a new state.
New state, okay. And then as soon as the robot picks, it becomes in
It's in
process,
progress.
in progress, right? Now
Yeah.
let's say the performer was broken after it was taken in process, right? Now there is an
Mm-hmm.
item which is in progress and the
Mm-hmm.
performer is not able to proceed, right? It is not able to mark it as success, or is it not able to mark it as failed, right? What happens to this in progress transaction?
So yeah, that is already in place in our organization. Like let's
Hmm.
say after 24 hours, it will be in abundant state.
Hmm.
But yeah, because the business requirement is really high at that moment. So if it is
Hmm.
in progress and it is not creating a Jira ticket,
Hmm.
what actually I have done, right? So using another process I have created, whatever the in progress items, first it will
Hmm.
be like move to failed state. That is a
Hmm.
different process
Yeah, yeah.
actually.
Hmm.
So it will move to a failed state. After that, once it is moved to failed state, we are going to delete it,
Okay.
delete that particular record. And again, once the dispatcher runs every 2 hours, right?
Hmm.
So because the once we deleted this particular row ID one, so again it will add that particular row ID.
So regarding that Jira thing, right? So now we have all the items in the queue. So dispatcher is done. It has added. We have figured out that you have that mechanism in place. When we talk about the queue items in the Jira process, which I'm talking is now the performer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which activity you are using to read the data from the queue,
Get transaction item activity
and what is the
in
output?
the get transaction states. So it will give it queue item.
Okay, so it has the queue item, and that queue item, I
Yeah.
have all the details for one ticket, right? Particular ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how do you have, how is your UI path connecting to the Jira, right? Because Jira can have multiple servers, right? I am using Jira, your company is using Jira, you have different environments. How does
Mm-hmm.
the robot know that I have to make ticket in this Jira version, right? How is the connection happening?
Yeah, through using a API call. So how we are doing this, we have
Hmm.
an endpoint URL.
Hmm.
So using this HTTP request, we have
Hmm.
an endpoint given by the business. So we are
Okay.
using that, and also we have a authentication required
Hmm.
for that particular Jira account. So we have a Jira account for the robot as well. Okay, so using that authentication username and password, so it
Hmm.
is going to connect, and we have some prop means Jira ticket attributes. So we
Hmm.
have the particular attribute. For example, let's say a label it needs to update, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So we need to provide all the details like what is the label code. So like inspect. Let's say we open the Jira manually.
Hmm.
So we are right click on that page, and we have an inspect.
Hmm.
So in the inspect, we'll go for a proper value. So we can see that property, the number.
Okay.
So we take that number, and we are going to insert in a JSON format input string that we are going to provide.
Understood. So I am, as a developer, I am writing an automation. I have used the HTTP request. I'm calling the API, then I am providing the parameters, everything I have done, right? Now,
Correct.
how would I know whether the insertion or the Jira ticket was created successfully or not, right? How do I know as a
Yeah.
developer? What would that HTTP
We
request
have
give
a
me? Hmm.
Okay. So use in the HTTP request, there is an also there is an also output parameters.
Hmm.
So in the output parameters, we have a status code.
Okay.
So using the status code is a 201. So then means the request is success.
Hmm.
So depending on that, so if the status code every time we send a request through HTTP, so we are getting a status code, and we are also keeping that a status code in a if condition. So whether the status code is 201, then okay, we are good and proceed for the next step. And
Hmm.
if it is not, then we are going to throw a application exception.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now I have some questions on your role, right? I understand that you are working as a senior software engineer with this company now.
Mhm.
Are you reporting or are you also managing some resources, junior RP developers with you, or you are having a individual IC role?
Yeah, that's an individual IC role currently
Hmm,
in this organization. But previously, yeah, we have as I'm an RPA developer where I have
hmm,
trained the people
hmm.
in Kenya. So I
Okay,
used to train the people as well.
okay, fine. So now let's say I am your business person and I give you three processes, okay, for automation. So I call you and I say, Vardhan, I have got three processes which we need to automate. What would you
Hmm.
see to pick the correct automation, right? So I have three automation, let's say automation one, automation two, automation three, and I give it to you and say, hey, Vardhan, just go and automate these processes. But as a developer, definitely you would choose the one, right? We cannot do all the three at once. I have to select the
Yep.
best candidate for automation, right? What would be our
Hmm.
selection criterias on selecting a process for automation? Well, basically, what do you do? How do you select?
Okay. So first of all, we conducted a meeting with the business. So
Hmm,
for example, if we choose, let's say, automation one, so we
hmm,
need to understand the process first.
hmm.
Okay. So we ask, let's say I choose the automation one and I will ask the business, okay, please give
Okay,
me
so
a
you have
overview.
you have got all the overview of all the three processes. Okay, you
Okay.
have got the overview. You know what the processes are doing, right? Now you have to decide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have all the inputs, right? So now you have
So,
to decide.
okay, understood. So then I will go the feasibility check. So let's say,
Hmm.
y- oh, you think you're saying that all the three automations are like feasible for automation?
Yeah, all the three are feasible for automation, right? So you have to decide, right? What would be your
Mm-hmm.
deciding parameters, right? Are you going to see the easiness? Are you going to see is it already developed or not? What exactly are you going to look into the automation?
Okay, so within the organization, as I
Hmm.
check, okay, is this already within our organization? It is already built, and is it available in the Orchestrator libraries?
Mm-hmm.
I will check that one. If it is already there, we can use some part of libraries for a reusable
Mm-hmm.
purpose. And the other thing is what's actually giving, what is the main value or what is
Mm-hmm.
the cost savings that is going to be done with this particular project.
Okay.
And yeah, hopefully that is what I'm thinking currently.
Okay. Okay. No worries. The second question is again coming from here, looking at your experience, is that uh, we are a group of five developers. Okay. We are working in a
Okay.
team. Now, how do I make sure that all of us are using the same version of the code? Okay. So let's say you are a
Hmm.
senior developer. I am reporting to you. How do you make sure that your junior developer or the complete team member is on the same version of the code, right? Because it might happen that Vardhan is using on version 5.0 and Mukesh is still coding on version 3.0, right? You are the senior developer. You need to ensure that
Hmm.
all your developers are in the correct version, right? How do you ensure that?
Yeah. So we in our organization we are using a Bitbucket.
Uh-huh.
So and also Git Bash.
Hmm,
So wherever the project directory that I'm currently working on, so what I do every day, so I will just I will go to my project
hmm,
folder and I will right click and I will choose the Git Bash.
hmm,
So where I will pull, we are using a Git pull activity, so Git pull command.
hmm,
So when I am in sync with all the developers, and I also request everyone, so whenever you are
hmm,
starting your day, so use a Git pull. And
hmm,
also everyone, we are, as we are a collaborated
hmm,
using this Bitbucket in this, and also we actively monitoring this Bitbucket in our organization. So what is the latest commits, and so
hmm,
everything, it will be like organized. The project is organized in the way. Even like if I am working in a different module, for example, defect management.
hmm,
So I have a working on this API XAML file. Some other are working on this
hmm, hmm,
SharePoint
hmm.
web page. So we are in sync. Like if you are working on a same project in a different XAML files, we are sync with the commit and these pull commands.
Okay. Last question from my end, Vardhan, would be Once you have
Yeah.
completed the development, okay,
Okay.
who does the code review? Are you going to do the code review, or how does the code review happens, right, in any of the project?
Yeah. So currently we have a solution architect where he
Hmm,
gives our all these PDD documents and solution design documents. We'll request his time
hmm,
for whatever we have developed for a code review with him. We
hmm,
set up a meeting,
hmm,
and yeah, and once he did our meeting, and also we internally before going to him, first we internally with all the developers we set up a meeting,
hmm,
and we internally review each other XAML files, and
hmm.
once we are good, and we go with the solution architect
Uh,
once he is approved, and
can
we
you tell
publish.
me any three best practices? Any three, right? Any three. So we have a lot of best practices, I know, right? I just
Yeah,
want to know any
obviously.
three best practices.
Yeah, the best practice I used to have, first thing is a variables format. So we
Mm-hmm,
use a camel case variable. Like it's really easy to understand for other developers, and I will also ask them to use this particular format. Like if let's say if you are creating a variable,
hmm,
str and a first name, like f is a capital, n is a
hmm,
capital,
hmm, hmm.
right?
Okay.
So that is a one best practice. And also coming to the arguments, we definitely use this in, let's say if it is a in, out, or
Hmm,
IO, just make sure you are giving this first two letters should be like IN or OUT for if it is out, IO if
hmm,
it is in out. So I usually practice, that is the best practice for variable conversion argument formats.
hmm,
And coming to the workflow related, so make sure you are giving every activity should be like a proper name. Let's say if it is clicking on OK button or maybe submit button,
hmm,
maybe you have to mention the activity name is a click submit. And also make sure your project is, let's say for it is a login process. So make sure you are entering this first name, last name should be within a sequence, and the sequence should be named, and it is should be like an annotation. You have to must provide. So it's really helpful for others, and also it's easy even if when we are explaining our project to others like solution architect, he
hmm.
also feels good, and it's really worthy to have like this.
Okay, understood. Okay, so I'm done with my set of questions, Vardhan. Let's directly jump to your feedback. Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
overall, your interview was good, right? I was able to get all the answers. You have given me a good introduction about yourself. I understood the project assignment in the first place. I don't have to ask you much questions. There was one
Okay.
question which you had have answered more precisely is the add queue and the bulk queue, right? The
Hmm.
answer to that question is simple. You are using add queue item because you have unique reference. The bulk queue item does not give you the
Okay.
unique reference, right? So if you use bulk
Exactly.
queue, it will load everything, right? Unique reference, you
Correct.
answered me when I asked you the question in a different way, right? When I asked
Hmm.
you the duplicate question, you told me about unique reference. So that means that you are aware that there is something called unique reference. But
Hmm.
the correct answer would be when I ask the difference, it would be that the bulk add does not give you the unique reference, whereas the add queue gives you the unique reference. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Your
Got
questions
it.
on this performer dispatcher, I understood clearly. You have given me answer correctly for the in progress, abandoned thing, get transaction, how do you load the APIs, everything was expected.
Okay.
There is something which you need to improve is your, I would say, the business analyst kind of thing. Not the business
Hmm.
analyst specifically, but how do you select the correct project, right? So I
Okay.
ask you a question, right? How do you select the correct project, right? So basically, whenever as an RP developer or as a lead, now you are growing in your career, right? So now you are 6 years. Now you would be moving ahead. Whenever we talk
Hmm.
about automation processes are divided into four quadrants. Low hanging fruit.
Hmm.
Then there is
Okay.
you remember? It's from your
Hmm.
BA training of the UiPath, right? So you
Okay.
have automation which falls into four category, which are the low hanging fruits, which are the automation which are giving high value, which are the automations which are for future improvements, and which are the automation
Hmm.
which we should do immediately, right? So
Okay.
basically, automation has to be categorized into 4 different criterias, and based on that
Mm-hmm.
we take decision, right? It's not like that, okay, I have already done this automation, let's redo it because
Okay.
it's easy, right? Chances are there that
Okay.
automation give me only 1 hour, but there is one automation which might be difficult to do, but it has got a huge saving, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it depends on that quadrant, and all of this is explained in the UiPath business analyst training, which is available for free in UiPath Academy, right? Go through the
Okay.
training and
Definitely.
it give you more insights on these kind of questions. Okay,
Sure, Mukesh.
so
Thanks.
the best practice part was also I was able to understand. There is one
Mm-hmm.
feedback on your resume which I found is that if let's say I am shortlisting the resume, right? So
Mm-hmm.
chances are there I might not shortlist your resume. See, when I'm talking to you, you have given me all the good answers, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a in-depth knowledge, right? But your resume does not show that. So let's say if I am
Mm-hmm.
shortlisting the resume, right? I might not pick your resume. I'll tell you the
Okay.
reason for that, right? Your resume talks about your courses of cloud computing, your extracurricular activities which you have done, right? It
Mm-hmm.
talks a lot about your education and all those things. But if I'm applying for a RPA UiPath role, what do you think I would be more interested in looking?
The projects I worked on and
Yes. The
achievements.
projects
Okay.
in
Okay.
terms of the projects, this API thing, Jira integration.
Mm-hmm.
If I go through your entire automation resume, right, I see only
Mm-hmm.
one term which is UiPath, and then I see RPA and API. Apart from that,
Okay.
everything is a generic term. You have explained your .NET project, right? So in your
Mm-hmm.
resume, put more of the projects, or at least put
Sure.
what you have done, right? Let's say you are
Mm-hmm.
aware of the Jira integration, you are aware of the API automation, you are aware of the RE framework, you are aware of the transactional management, you know how do you do the
Okay.
best practices, right? So whatever you do, right, you are aware, just put it, right?
Sure.
The second thing is in terms of skills, right? You have mentioned all the skills. That is perfectly fine, right? You
Mm-hmm.
should add more skills in terms of your automation. You have all the
Mm,
skills, but you have just mentioned like Microsoft Office, effective time management. That's fine, right?
okay.
But what about the technical skills?
Okay. Like what you said, a sequel or a sequel I
See,
mentioned.
SQL
So
you have mentioned, so maybe you can just mention, I can see that you have experience in document understanding. So you can say that
okay.
UiPath document understanding, I know the transactional processing management, I know the API
Mm-hmm.
automation, right? So that is your skill,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
maybe you can create a
Sure.
separate section where you say that what all I am aware in UiPath, how many projects I have done, these are the different kind of things I have handled, right? So that
Okay.
will
Sure.
give more weightage to the resume. And if I am a guy who is just shortlisting the resume, right? Let's say the
Mm-hmm.
HR or they who don't know much about UiPath, but they are shortlisting so they can see that okay, this guy has a lot of UiPath related stuffs in the CV, so let's move it forward, right? Because shortlisting of the CV is the first place before you get into the interview, right? So please work on
Correct.
the CV.
Correct.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the feedback from me, Vardhan. So now I'll give it to you for your feedback. How was it? Did you like it? Was it
Yeah. It's.
valuable?
And I'm really happy having this session with you.
Thank you, Vardhan. Have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah. You
Thanks.
too.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.